A lot of this has already happened to us, and there's no going back from it. There's not much we can do about it, really. This is where we are right now. We might be able to start undoing the damage that's been done by the people that have sown divisiveness successfully in both our respective countries and created a situation when there is no discourse anymore. There is simply teams.
So going through all of the different projects and things that you've done through your career, this is very different than other things that you've tackled before. I mean, you've done big budget, you've done spy thriller, you've done all of those kinds of things, but this is not the expected type of spy thriller that I think some people may just kind of expect. Anytime they see spy thriller, they're thinking Jason Bourne, Mission Impossible, that kind of thing. What drew you to this story?
I think it was very much about the pedigree of the script at first. It was Peter Kosminsky, who is someone that I have admired for a long time. He's an absolute legend in sort of British television drama. Everything he's done has just been important, and he's weighed down with BAFTAs and what have you. So I knew immediately when I got the script that this was an exciting prospect, and then I read it, and I was just so kind of engrossed by the story and the real world implications of the story. You know, there aren't usually any real world implications in the sort of pure entertainment stuff I do.
Right.
It might be extrapolated from the real world, but nothing that you kind of think, oh, that might happen. This is entirely plausible, not least because various elements of it have come true since we created it. The prime minister was ousted just as Peter predicted he would be. And that only goes to show how kind of close to the truth this show is.
At 9:07 this morning, we experienced a partial shutdown.
So it's a cyber attack.
I think I might have found something.
Tara, one of our work experience students, found it.
Do we know who's responsible?
Russia, most likely FSB.
I'd like to know what we could do to retaliate.
If we attack them again, it's just an ever-escalating spiral. Surely it has to stop.
Watching it, just even in the first episode, I immediately started thinking of series like The Day After and Failsafe and these productions that were cautionary tales of where things could very easily go if things don't change. And, there's references that your character is making in the story to Putin and all of these things that are eerily realistic. But did you ever have any fears that people are going to watch this and maybe misinterpret this as like a story with an agenda versus kind of just being a cautionary tale?
Well, I don't know if it is a cautionary tale, really, because I don't know what we can learn from it other than to be a little bit more careful online, a little bit more aware of who we're speaking to when we're having arguments on Twitter about, Brexit or American elections or whatever, to understand that you're most likely talking to someone in a foreign troll farm who's just trying to cause division. That's already happened. All that has already happened. A lot of this has already happened to us, and there's no going back from it. There's not much we can do about it, really. I mean, if the show has an agenda, then it's to actually show people that this is the state of play at the moment. We're living at a time when there's an incredibly tenuous peace, particularly online. We have a deterrent which is similar to the nuclear deterrent, whereby every cyber capable nation has an exploit placed in its adversary, even in its friends, ready to go off at any time should the need be. We rely on the internet so much for everything that if it were to be taken away, there would be catastrophic ramifications. It's just in the way art should do it. It's mirroring life. It's showing what life is. This isn't like, hey, if we just take care a little bit, everything's going to be fine. It's not. This is where we are right now. We might be able to start undoing the damage that's been done by the people that have sown divisiveness successfully in both our respective countries and created a situation when there is no discourse anymore. There is simply teams, and you never go from one team to the other. There's no cross-aisle cooperation anymore. It's just, I hate you and you hate me. That's all been stoked by online sort of propaganda, you know.
This country has faced an attack amounting to an act of war. It is our duty to respond.
I have decided to declare a state of emergency.
Rise like fire.
Where's Putin going with this?
He wants to overturn the world order.
Did we organize that counter demonstration?
We organized both of them.
One of the things that's very difficult to do in television and film anyway is make code entertaining. And, you know, I know that there was a lot of experts involved in kind of making sure that this was as realistic as possible, but I thought it was very cool how visualizing what happens in the actions that Sarah's character takes and what everybody's doing, it kind of had like an Inception feel to it, where the world is dreamlike and kind of surreal. What was your interpretation of that? And, you know, do you think that it was something that is easy for audiences to kind of relate to, or what involvement did you have in even seeing that happen on set?
Well, the first inclination I had of that was when I read the script, and each scene heading for those moments, it was called Code World. And, you know, Peter just came up with a really smart way to dramatize coding. Coding to the layperson would be utterly boring. You'd be looking at a screen and you wouldn't be able to read it. You'd just be seeing gobbledygook. So what Peter wanted to do was to create a situation where people could actively understand the challenges Sarah is facing in the coding world by physically showing her solving problems, using tools, reversing kind of rooms, that kind of stuff, looking through phone books. And I think it's really clever because he throws you in at the deep end, literally, with the first episode when you're watching it. And the first thing you think is you're spotting continuity errors. You're like, oh, she's suddenly got a tool belt on. Oh, she's just come out of the sea and she's completely dry. But what Peter is doing is very cleverly just sort of like making you question what you're looking at so that you understand that it's not real. And as soon as you understand that it's not real, you get what it is. And that's it. That's your crash course in Code World. And for the rest of the series, you know exactly what you're looking at whenever you drop into that situation. And that's just a testament to Peter's sort of, you know, intelligence and skill as a writer, I think. And
there's, I mean, familiar faces in this cast, both from, you know, British television, from big screen. There's Mark Rylance. We've got all of these familiar faces that everybody would recognize, but this series really hinges on the performance from a relative newcomer. What was it like working with Hannah on this project?
It was great because, you know, we always said to her, you know, this is your show. You're not to scare her or anything, but she was so enthusiastic, so up for it. You know, I think she spent almost a year going through the audition process for it. Peter had complete faith in her, rightly so. She came to the set with no ego. You know, it wasn't like, this is my show at all. She never behaved like that. And for me and for Alex and for Adrian, everybody that, and for Mark, I know working with her, it was just a real treat because of her sort of enthusiasm and she was so capable. I never ever felt like I had to sort of help her in any way or prop her up. The best thing we'd tell stories to her between takes. You know, it was fun being the old guys on set. She said to me on the first day, you know, I was nervous to meet you because me and my brother grew up watching your movies. And I was like, that's nice. That also makes me feel fucking ancient.
Yeah.
So it was a treat. You know, I love Hannah, and I think she's going to do so well. She's got such a prodigious talent, and I feel like watching her on this was a delight because she never ever looked out of her depth.
What if the other side has already predicted every step you'll take?
They hit us again, we up the stakes another notch, and before you know it, we're into a cycle of escalation and a catastrophic loss of life.
You're constantly bombarded with questions about all the big projects that you're a part of and things like that. You had made a recent comment about how rather than being a part of some of those cookie cutter things that are out there, you're excited by taking your career in new directions, doing projects like this. Now, this is a 6-episode limited series, but the way that it finishes off, it's left in an ambiguous sort of manner that there could be more to this story, or maybe it could be something else. Would you be interested in returning to this tale and telling more of it, or are you looking to kind of branch out in similar genre type stuff?
Oh, I'd love to. I'd love to. If there was another season of this show, I'd jump at the chance. You know, it was really good. I love working with Peter. He's such an incredibly sensitive and sympathetic director to actors. He really makes it, you know, he makes it all about us. I know that sounds like I'm being like it should be. He just is very good at making us feel we're in an environment where we can, you know, do our very, very best work. He gives us all sort of biographies of our characters that's really detailed. I'd love to do that again. That would be great.
Awesome. Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for your time. Really love the show, and I can't wait for people to check it out.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
There's been a massive leak of data from GCHQ.
This is far worse than anything by Snowden.
The truth is, they've been one step ahead of us, anticipated how we would react to every stage.
Shut it down.